intentional to avoid the structure of there being a secret and the secret being revealed, and then there's a catharsis. That's sort of the classic structure of a family secret. And here I wanted to actually explore the struggle between wanting to reveal the secret but also wanting to respect your family, because the respect thing is very important in Asian culture. And also I thought it was interesting where if the climax of the film is not to reveal the secret, which is in many ways what audiences are going to be expecting, then it was a challenge for me to figure out, well, what is the climax then of the film? What is the emotional climax of the film? And in some ways, the lie itself is a distraction. It's a misdirect. And yeah, and to me that was more emotionally charged to figure out the emotional climax. Yes, pretty much based on my real life, and when I was developing the script, there was often conversations about dramatizing the narrative to be more dramatic, but I really wanted to stay true to what actually happened, which is that we didn't reveal the secret, because there was naturally a lot of drama for me in that, and it was more about deciphering my own psychology and what it was all about, you know, why I was so bothered by this lie, and whether that was a selfish desire or if it was actually truly because I wanted to, you know, but because I believed that Nanai, my grandmother, deserved to know the truth. So I would say, yeah, it's pretty much all following the natural trajectory. There's some changes that I made in the script, timeline-wise, some things, details that I grabbed from previous trips to China, not this specific one, but the overall emotional journey and the feeling of having to say goodbye to somebody that you don't want to say goodbye to, and also who doesn't know that you're saying goodbye, was accurate. To find their roots, to find connection, but more importantly, I wanted to show them as a fish out of water, that in actuality, if you talk to a lot of immigrants, when they go back to their home country, what the biggest realization is actually that they don't belong there. And you go because you have a romantic idea of China and of home and of family, but it's the same for all of us. When you go back to find your childhood, you realize it's not there anymore. Even when you go back to the same house, even when you go back to the same country, the thing that you're looking for is no longer there because you've changed and everyone else has also changed. And it was more about Billy's romanticization of China and romanticization of her past. And so, yes, the farewell is a farewell to her grandmother, but it's also a farewell to many other things, to herself, to her old self, to China, to childhood.
Sì, perché poi il paradosso è che spesso chi vive all'estero, quindi chi ha lasciato il proprio paese, conserva delle tradizioni che magari il paese da cui proviene ha superato, ha cancellato. E questo è un altro degli aspetti che vediamo nel film. Lei si accorge che l'idea che si era fatta appunto del suo paese natale non corrisponde più a realtà.
Yes, exactly. I've always found it very interesting that the Chinese traditions, or I have friends who are Indian, that actually as immigrants they have much more of those traditions than if you go back to the country itself. For example, if you go back to China, most people when they get married are wearing Western white wedding gowns, and they're getting married in large churches, even if they're not religious, even, you know, that's just now, they consider that the modern way to do something. Whereas many Asian Americans, in fact, want to honor their roots, and so they hold on and they will have rituals, and maybe they'll wear a qipao, the Chinese dressing, for their wedding. And and also there's Chinatowns all over the world, and in Chinatowns, in any city that you go to, they have a lot of the old temples and dragons and little trinkets. And why is that? Because I think that the people who leave actually feel the need to hold on because they're nostalgic. Whereas the people who live in that country still, they're not trying to hold on, they're trying to move forward. Because actually I wanted to make it as a film right from the beginning. I always felt that it should be a film, but I had a difficult time getting the financing to make the film, so I made the radio story because it was the only avenue for me to actually tell the story. So I thought, well, here's somebody who will actually let me tell the story, so let me just do it. But then after the radio show came out, producers came to me and saying, I heard the story on the radio and I want to make it into a film. So of course I was interested. I'm a filmmaker. But I think what the film is able to do that the radio show didn't, and how the radio show also helped me make the movie, is well, first I'll start with the radio show helped me make the film because it was through an investigative lens, curiosity of saying, I can't believe this happened to you, tell us more. How did you feel? What happened? What are the details? And This American Life is a journalistic show, so everything is fact-based. So you cannot create, big dramatic points where I tell grandma, it's all about what is the truth of what happened. And that was such a brilliant moment for me because before that, all the producers I talked to, instead of asking what actually happened and how did I feel, they immediately wanted to attach fictional, dramatic plot points to make it more appealing to a mass audience. And they didn't even think to ask questions about the reality. And in the radio show, I interviewed my family, my parents, my great aunt, and I learned, and also, the producers of the radio show learned along with me, so many things that we didn't know before about why they did it and about how they were feeling and things like that. And also I was asking myself these questions of what does it mean to me to tell her the truth or not tell her, and what is my relationship, what am I losing aside from my grandma, the fact that I am losing my childhood in many ways, like what she symbolizes in my life. But then with the film, I can take those moments and visualize it and put music to it, and I can create tone. And that's what drove me to make the film, was not the narrative plot points and structures. It was much more the tone of a scene, the way that my uncle kept asking me the same questions over and over again. And the whole time I thought, this is so strange. Why is he repeating himself? And it wasn't until later, when I reflected on it, said, oh, actually, he's saying it to himself. He's saying it to me, but in a way, he's reminding himself. So those were the sort of visual set pieces of making, even though it's a family drama, of making it feel sometimes like a thriller, sometimes like a horror film, because you don't know what's going to happen. Yes, I think they're very surprised, honestly, because when I first said I was going to make this into a film, I did ask my parents to read the script, and my dad, because I wanted to ask, is it authentic, to our experience? I don't want to write something where I'm taking advantage of the family for the sake of making art. And so when my dad read the script, he's like, it's very authentic, almost too authentic, because it's really boring. Who cares? Why would anybody care about the mundane details of our lives? And my great aunt, little Nai, she plays herself in the movie, and also felt like, why do you want to cast me? I'm an average person, I'm not a movie star. And so in many ways, they've all thought, okay, it's going to be a very small movie and maybe you'll get more jobs from this, but nobody expected this kind of universal response. And that's been surprising for them, and my aunt too, she came to LA and she saw the film, and she herself was very surprised by the reaction because there was a whole row of people behind her, and she said they were all crying like it was their own grandmother dying. Like, you know, and I imagine it's strange for them to see the world, strangers, crying the same as we feel for our own family. But it's also beautiful because it shows that to them that the average life, what they consider to be not interesting, you know, can be put on a big screen and can have a universal appeal, and not just what my father watches, which is like Die Hard and other action movies like that.
Beh, noi ci auguriamo naturalmente che il film abbia lo stesso successo in Italia. Grazie molte per essere stata qui con noi.
Thank you.